Hello again, Dominic Trophy, and welcome to another video. And this one's going to be something video game related. And it's been an interesting topic I wanted to talk about for so long. And I've said that in a lot of these recent videos, but there's been so many topics I wanted to talk about that I never really got round to doing them because I was doing other things. But this one is going to be about well, my thoughts, opinions of on HD remakes or re-releases, HD re-release, that sort of stuff. But before I start, I actually do have a bit of a quick notification. I actually got a message off a person that's been watching my stuff for a while, and you've probably recently heard about him. Alex Francis is called. I've heard a lot of interesting things about him, but he did send me a notification that he wanted me to read out, and that was that he'd recently met his sister's boyfriend. I don't know why he wanted me to tell everyone that, but I think if I didn't tell him that, he'd end up going on a rant, and I don't want that happening. But anyway, you'll be happy I've read your notification out. Let's move on, okay? Anyway, this video again is going to be about HD remakes, and what are my thoughts about HD remakes? I sort of have, I'm sort of on two sides about it. I think, sometimes it's a good idea, and then I think sometimes it can be a bad idea. But I'm going to start on why I think it's a good idea. The reason I like HD remakes or remasters, whatever, is because of the fact that it gives new people or new consumers a chance to play these franchises that they never played before. And currently, obviously, with the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, we have seen that, with several games. But this isn't the first time where we've seen this happen. We saw several games, released on the Xbox 360, the PS3 and the Wii that were remastered basically from the old consoles. It's been going on for so long. The Saturn had Sonic 3D Blast on it, remade and remastered and everything. So it's been going on for years and years, decades, you know what I mean? So it's nothing new, you know what I mean? But it kind of helps new consumers get onto that franchise. So, for example, the Nathan Drake collection of all three Uncharted games, they were re-released and remade for the PlayStation 4. So for those that never owned a PlayStation 3, could get the chance to play those, which, kind of helped, the franchise. Because if you had a bunch of friends who, had PlayStation 3s, but you had, for example, a Wii or an Xbox 360, it gave you that chance to play these games and experience why, your friends or, whoever enjoyed the games. And that's what I think I like about that. But if there's a game, for example, that was on one console and it's remade for the other, if you like that game, you know what I mean, it's your own choice if you want to buy it again. So as I just said, for example, the Uncharted collection, if you played all three on PlayStation 3 and you went to the PlayStation 4 and you want to buy them again, and you like the games, you know what I mean, props to you, if you like the games, that's what makes it good. And it also helps, especially when a new installment is on the console. So, for example, Uncharted 4 was on PlayStation 4. So it gave people a chance to play all three of them and then play the fourth one on PlayStation 4, which is a good thing. But I do agree, lately, that a lot of companies have been, kicking out so many remasters and stuff. It's great to see all those games come back, but sometimes I think it's nice to see a new idea and a new intellectual property, a new IP come back, or a new IP appear on the platform, because it makes it a lot more interesting, that you're thinking of or making a new idea. Because if you keep kicking out those games that have already been remade, it's like, well, what's the point? I've already played them. You might think like that, but it gives the new consumers and the new generation to play those games. And that's what I like about it. So if you went to a PlayStation 4, you know what I mean, it gives you the chance to play those games. Halo Master Chief Collection. If you've not played those original Halo games in so long, obviously Microsoft remade those games for the Xbox One, and it gives you a chance to do that. And I quite like that. I really do. And I think one that did it really well was the Halo Anniversary Edition of the first game. where you could actually, obviously, change how the game looks. So you could play it in, obviously, in HD remastered on the Xbox 360, and you could also play it in the original the original way it was displayed on the Xbox 360. So it gave you the chance to see how that game changed from 2001 to 2011, and it was a nice thing to do. I think that was good because she went from a standard definition console to a high definition console. And I think that's another thing that's kind of getting a bit, stupid, is calling them HD remasters, because they're not HD remasters when they're still high definition. Where you see games on Xbox 360 to Xbox One and then PS3 to PS4. I think HD remasters matter where you're taking a game from a standard definition console to a high definition console. So, for example, the Nintendo Wii. There was a lot of games that were amazing, pure amazing on that console. And honestly, I'd love to see those be re-released for the Switch, especially the Nintendo games. So, for example, like, the Super Mario Galaxy games. I know you can play those on the Wii U. But one thing that would be a little bit different is obviously the control layout, because when you're going from like the Xbox to the new one, to the PlayStation to the new one, it's just a standard controller. When you're going from like the Wii to the Switch, you know what I mean? That's where the controller kind of changes, because you've got the whole, you've got a Wii remote and your nunchuck, and especially when you're pointing at the television. Though I'm not pointing at you, but I'm just, example. When you like that and you shoot and stuff, or you've got to point at the screen, you've got to think, well, how can you change that? How can you make that into an actual standard controller? That's why it gets a bit difficult, for the Wii, especially when you've got those. But if it's just a standard game that you don't use that, it will make it a lot easier. But I think there's a lot of great games on that console that deserve an HD re-release. As I said before, Choo-Choo Rocket. You know what I mean? I got Choo-Choo Rocket, my t-shirt. That's one game I've always wanted to see get an HD re-release, especially if you've watched them for so long. And I love that game, and I honestly would love to give, Sega money, you know what I mean? I'd love to see Sega come out, one of these days, and say, Choo-Choo Rocket is getting the HD remaster you've always expected and always wanted to see. I'd go crazy for that, and a lot of people would, and it's amazing. There's a lot of games from those consoles that do deserve a re-release, although they may have never seen a re-release at all, you know what I mean? Which is kind of a shame. It really, really is. And it helps. It really, really does. And I like that. You know what I mean? But as I said, a lot of people, especially a lot of the younger, like a lot of young people. I'm not saying that, but it's like, for example, I have a friend called Reese. He didn't really watch this anymore. I used to watch it long ago, and he was never a fan of the old game consoles or the games. And his first console was a PlayStation 2. Because he was born in the really, really late 90s, so he was. And I remember once we played the Nintendo 64, we played a bit of Mario Kart 64. Great game. Not my favourites, but apart from that. And we played a bit of that game, and he just couldn't get into it, because it was on a console he never experienced, and he just couldn't get into it. And unfortunately, he could only move forward instead of backwards. So, like, for example, he could play PlayStation 2, Xbox, GameCube. Anything older than that, he just couldn't get into, and that's a bit of a bad thing. Because it is good to experience those old classics that a lot of us may have never experienced. And that's what I've liked about that, you know what I mean? Because not only do you get, like, not only do you get a bit of a burst of new life for the franchise, but it also gives it to the new generation. For example, Shenmue is one that people want to see become re-released, badly. And I think Sega's starting to... Even last year, Sega did state that they were looking into it. Those two games definitely do deserve a re-release, especially when you're going from the first game to the second game. As, all the save data goes into the second one. And you'll need that when Shenmue 3 comes out, next year. You need that. And it will hurt the franchise if you don't do that. Because you'll need 2 or even basically 3 consoles for that, because you'll need a Dreamcast for Shenmue 1 and 2, or you can get the Xbox version of Shenmue 2, and you'll need a PlayStation 4 for Shenmue 3, you know what I mean? So you can't bring that save data over, and it will help the franchise not only expand, but also, as I just said, burst new life. It really, really is. But sometimes HD remasters can be a bit of a bad thing. And I think one is when you just give the franchise, or put a franchise on, and it just has like the final one. So for example, God of War 3 remastered on PlayStation 4. Where are the other 2? You know what I mean? You need the other 2 to actually do that, you know what I mean? And I think that's a bit of a bad move that Sony did, because if you want to play the first 2 games, you still need to want a PlayStation 3 for that. So it makes you think, why don't I just own all 3 on the PlayStation 3? And it was a bit of a missed opportunity for people who've never played the franchise. And that's what hurts it, where you put a franchise on it and you basically put half the series on that, on the new platform. It's like, well, what's the point? Like, as I said before, the Wii U port of Mass Effect 3, it's not a good version when you don't have the first 2 games on it, you know what I mean? But as long as companies do them right, you know, it will make a lot more people enticed with them. I think Legend of Zelda, Wind Waker HD, and Twilight Princess HD did that right, because those 2 games were re-released from the GameCube version onto the Wii U, and that made sense. It really, really, really did, even though Twilight Princess is being released on GameCube, Wii, and Wii U, you know what I mean? Get ready for a Switch version. I don't think that'll be happening, but that would be interesting if it did. And that's one thing that people have got to understand. But it also helps a lot of people who have played Wind Waker HD. That was my first taste in playing it, even though I do remember seeing it on the GameCube version, you know, back long ago. So as long as companies do HD remasters correctly, it will make it a lot more enticing, and it will please the player, you know what I mean? And a lot of people always want to play the original on the original console, but it's nice to play the new, like, remastered, re-released on the new console, especially when it's a 15 to 20-year-old game, like Night Trap. That's getting a remastered, and that deserves it, because it was on a platform like over 25 years ago, you know what I mean? But it helps when developers do excite you, and you know they praise you for that, and you praise them because you've brought a franchise that you've wanted for so long. It really, really helps it, you know, expand. It really, really does, and keeps it alive to all of the fans of that franchise. It really, really does. So I just want to say thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I know it's a bit long one, but I just wanted to do it, you know what I mean? And I'd love to hear what your thoughts about that. You know, what do you think of HD remasters? Do you think they're good? Do you think they're bad? I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll be doing a quick video after this one, which will be a bit of an update video on this channel. So I just want to say thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all later. Bye!